In 1863, a trapper in the Montana Territory survived 47 days alone after his supply wagon overturned into an icy river. No matches, no shelter, no doctor within 200 miles. When another hunting party finally found him, he was thinner, frostbitten, and half blind in one eye, but alive. And according to the journal they recovered from his camp, he survived using methods most people today have never even heard of, not because they stopped working, because over time, they quietly disappeared. The pioneers, trappers, mountain men, and early settlers of North America knew survival tricks so effective that entire communities depended on them through brutal winters, crop failures, blizzards, and wilderness isolation. Some of these methods came from Native American tribes. Others were brought over by Scandinavian loggers, German homesteaders, and French fur traders. Together, they created a system of survival that worked long before electricity, supermarkets, and modern infrastructure existed. But here's what makes this story strange. A surprising number of these techniques became discouraged, restricted, or outright banned over the last century. Fire codes, land management laws, health regulations, hunting restrictions, environmental rules. Most were introduced for understandable reasons, but the result is the same. Many of the old wilderness methods that once kept people alive are now considered illegal, unsafe, or non-compliant in large parts of the country. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 20 wilderness survival tricks the pioneers used constantly, and why many of them vanished. Some of these methods are still quietly practiced in remote areas of Alaska, Appalachia, and the Rockies. Others survive only in old trapping journals, forestry manuals, and handwritten notes buried in state archives. I spent months researching accounts from frontier diaries, Civil War survival records, and mountain expeditions from the 1800s, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand something important. The pioneers did not survive because nature was easier back then. They survived because they knew things we forgot. The first survival trick was called the debris trench shelter. Pioneers traveling through heavy snow country would dig a narrow trench directly into a hillside or snowbank, then cover the top with saplings, bark, moss, and packed leaves. From the outside, it looked like nothing more than part of the forest floor, but inside the temperature could remain 30 to 40 degrees warmer than the air outside. Modern survival instructors still teach variations of this today because it works incredibly well, but in many national parks and protected lands, digging shelters, cutting saplings, or disturbing forest ground cover can lead to heavy fines because of erosion and environmental protection laws. The second trick was carrying char cloth inside a waterproof horn container. Pioneers made char cloth by slowly burning linen or cotton in low oxygen until it became highly flammable. One spark from flint and steel could ignite it instantly. Mountain men relied on it because matches became useless in wet weather. Today, in drought-prone states, open spark fire methods are heavily restricted during wildfire season. In some areas, even carrying traditional fire-starting materials during burn bans can get you removed from public land. The third trick may sound insane until you understand the science behind it. Pioneers slept beside what they called a long fire. Instead of building one concentrated campfire, they created a long, narrow line of burning hardwood logs parallel to their bodies with a reflector wall of stones or green logs behind it. The heat radiated evenly through the night and required far less fuel. Modern forestry regulations often prohibit reflector fires because they scar the land and create a higher risk of ground ignition beneath root systems. But the fourth trick is the one that shocked me most during my research. The 14th trick was using owl calls and bird signals to detect predators or strangers nearby. Experienced hunters understood that sudden silence in the forest usually meant danger. They learned to read wildlife behavior almost like an early warning system. The 15th trick was preserving meat with cold smoke pits dug directly into hillsides. Smoke traveled through underground tunnels before reaching the meat chamber, cooling the smoke enough to preserve food without cooking it. Modern food safety regulations make traditional cold smoking difficult without licensed equipment and monitored temperatures. The 16th trick was collecting rainwater in hollowed logs lined with charcoal. The charcoal helped filter debris and improve taste while allowing pioneers to store water away from contaminated rivers. Today, some western states regulate rainwater collection itself because of water rights laws. The 17th trick was traveling rivers with hidden shoreline caches. Fur traders often buried supplies in marked locations known only through coded tree carvings and rock formations. If a canoe overturned, they could still survive using hidden emergency stores further downstream. Disturbing land or leaving hidden storage containers on public land today can violate multiple federal regulations. The 18th trick was using ash-covered fires. Before sleeping, pioneers buried glowing coals beneath thick hardwood ash. In the morning, they uncovered live embers still burning underneath. No need to restart a fire from scratch. Simple, efficient. But modern wildfire regulations strongly discourage hidden coal fires because they can reignite unexpectedly. The 19th trick was eating cattail roots and acorns during famine seasons. Properly processed cattail roots contain starches, while acorns become edible after soaking out tannins. Entire pioneer families survived crop failures this way. But many public lands now restrict plant harvesting to protect ecosystems from overuse. And finally, the 20th trick, the one that appears over and over again in frontier journals from Kentucky to Oregon. Pioneers survived by never depending on one system. Not one fire source, not one food source, not one shelter, not one river. Everything was layered, redundant, flexible. If traps failed, they fished. If fishing failed, they foraged. If weather destroyed one shelter, they already knew how to build another before sunset. Modern life trained us to depend on single systems that break all at once. One power outage, one supply chain disruption, one storm, one empty grocery shelf. The pioneers expected failure, so they prepared for it before it happened. That mindset may be the most forbidden survival trick of all because it teaches self-reliance instead of dependency. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 20 survival tricks surprised you the most? Was it the underground heat pit, the smoke bedding, the ash-covered fire that stayed alive overnight, or the hidden river caches fur traders used across the frontier? Leave a comment below and tell me which one you would actually try. And if you enjoy learning the forgotten systems pioneers used to survive brutal winters, wilderness isolation, and total grid failure, subscribe to the channel because the next video goes even deeper. I found an 1871 trapping journal from the Dakota Territory that describes a frontier winter shelter so effective that the inside stayed above freezing during a -30 blizzard using nothing but dirt, animal hides, and 2 candles. Almost nobody alive today knows how it works anymore, but in the next video, you will. The pioneers were not superheroes. They were ordinary people with extraordinary knowledge, and little by little, that knowledge disappeared.